Hello folks, it is a new week. Welcome to some hobby nightmares. I hope you have had a wonderful weekend. We had a bit of an epic one on Friday, and so today I'm going to try and sit off and take some of the less serious hobby nightmares to task. Or maybe some of the ones that, raise an amused eyebrow as you're going about your day, going about your business. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below if you want to buy me a beer. And if you're going to get any models over the next coming weeks, make sure you go and give Composite Games some love. They're really cool guys, and if you use the promo code Northern Exile down below, you get 5% off at checkout on anything that you get. So, have fun. Moving on. It won't be as long as last time, obviously. Last time was an hour and a half epic that I got really into, and I actually ended up having to go and have a long shower after that one. Not that kind of a shower. I mean, just to de-stress, reset, all that kind of a thing. Anyway, Steve says, for my pen name, call me Steve. All right. Hi North. Thanks for taking the time to read this email. It's a long one, and it felt cathartic just getting it out. It doesn't seem that long. No, it's all right. I've been listening to you daily on my commute home. Your videos seem to match the drive home nicely. For a bit of background, I have been in the hobby for 25 years, getting in right after the switch to 3rd edition. I have travelled the national level tournament scene, taught painting classes, organised tournaments and campaigns. For most of those years, we had an amazing local community, and some of the big names in the mid-2000s 40k scene came to my shop. We were never an organised team, because that wasn't really a thing yet. Then, I decided to change jobs and move across the country. Where I ended up, I discovered that I was a few minutes drive from a great store with a 40k community. Things went great for a couple of years. Then, the store closed unexpectedly, leaving us with no real place to play. The local community languished for a few years, waiting for another shop to open, while I tried to keep some of the core players going, using my garage and machine shop to hold some smaller games where we could play more casually with a let's keep this alive kind of outlook. That's good of you. After a time, we heard there was a store opening a half an hour away that was going to hold 40k tournaments regularly. It was like a ray of light in the darkness. This, however, is where my nightmare begins. Alright. I arrived at the tournament with my lovingly crafted, fully converted Orc army. This was about 3 weeks after the 9th edition Orc Codex had been released. No model was stock or normal in my army. Everything was changed in some way, but nothing out of specs. Everything looked mostly how it should. This will come up later. I discovered that most players at this event were from one of the national teams. It seems that this new store was close enough to their home store, and they bounced between them for events. Sweet, some guys who loved the game like me, I thought. My first round I was paired up with an Orc player. Great, I love some Orc and Orc action. Alrighty. This will be great. It was a gentleman in his 40s with a purple airbrushed Orc army, with some details picked out to get a 3-colour minimum. Oh my god. Okay, fine. The Codex just came out. Now, maybe he's building. We get our mission, set up turn 1. He goes first, and I forgot what the first mistake was, but I informed him how the rule worked, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot." Whatever, I thought, it happens. Then nearly immediately, there were more mistakes, all in his favour, of course. After the 5th one, I politely said, "Listen, dude, I'm playing the same army as you. I know the rule doesn't work like that." He started getting upset that I was noticing these things, but okay, he may be jumpy. I don't know. Moving on. Okay. So your first mistake there, right, is you said it in a very accusatory way. I know he's done it 3 or 4 times, but eventually, you have to say, "Listen, man, if you need, frame it like this." Like, okay, you're right, dude. Sorry, I'm playing the same army list, well, not army list, but codex as you, so if you need help with your rules, let me know, and we'll get through this a lot quicker, because that's the 5th rule that you got wrong, and it's a bit unfair, you know what I mean, because, you're getting unfair advantages. No, you're not cheating. I know. Maybe you don't know the codex that well yet, and if you don't, I'm here to help. Right? I can help you with that. So let's get through it together, and you can learn a bit about the army as we go forward. You never know. This might be somebody's first tournament and they're shitting themselves. You don't know. Anyway, my turn goes without much of an issue. Then his turn, where I have to remind him of more things he's getting wrong, comes along. Some of which he was getting wrong on turn 1. Then on my turn 2, he kicked it up a notch. I was running 2 squads of scrap jets. He made the comment that he can't tell what the models were, so they shouldn't be legal. True, they weren't the stock out-of-the-box model, but looked like they should be. They're basically scrap jets. So I took the time and went over what everything was again. As he was moaning a bit more, I took scraps of paper and wrote what each unit was and placed it next to the vehicles. This seemed to stop that avenue of attack from him. He had more mistakes, and at that point, I decided I was going to stop being nice and just told him that's not each time he tried. Okay, and told him that's not right each time he tried. Okay. The game was a mess, and when we got to the beginning of turn 5, the round time was called. I didn't mind as I was planning on doing. Okay, some of the can you guys please read through these before you send them in, because it really does mess with my flow. I didn't mind as what I was planning on doing wasn't to affect the score, so let's add them up and see what happened. Okay. Also, don't use abbreviations. Let's add them up. No, just use them. Add them up. It's easier to read. Sorry, I critique, but like it just. Not only do I do that for a living, so it naturally comes out in me, but also, like, it makes it a lot easier for the video to flow. I have come across a few of these where the very first sentence starts with something like that, where it's like higgledy-piggledy, and I've gone, yeah, I'm not reading that. And I've just disregarded it and been like, yeah, mate, you need to go and edit this and come back to me. But it's always things like this that catch me out, where it starts out very nicely written, and then obviously the person gets tired, or really gets into the flow of writing, and mistakes start creeping in later on that really throw him off my balance. Anyway, so basically what he's saying is that what he was doing in the game wasn't going to change the outcome anyway, so he didn't mind the game being called. Fair enough. This is where even more pettiness happened. He added the scores up to a 98-70 win for him, and somehow he had gained phantom points. Of course he did. By my count, I would have won by 3 points. He gave himself points that I couldn't account for. Now, I know the codex, I know the secondaries, and I know he didn't score all those points. Right, this is why I don't like secondaries as a thing. This is why. Right, there is such a convoluted mess at tournaments where you're trying to figure out who scored what and when. If you're responsible for tallying up your own points, you could easily give yourself shit as you go along. You could easily say, I made. If you actually scored 7 points, you could easily write down 10. How's the other person going to prove in a reasonable amount of time that you gave yourself 3 points? Okay, at a tournament, if they have an hour to spare, yeah, they can go through exactly what happened during the game and try and find out who's cheating and who isn't. But it's such a hard thing. Again, it's Games Workshop relying on you not being little douchebags. But some of you are little douchebags, and so you cheat and you add points, and it's so hard to actually call out and get the person not pulled over the coals, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I called the organiser over, and he said that if I wasn't keeping track of both of our points the whole game, then there was nothing else he could do. Yeah, I mean, what do you want him to do, man? Like, that's done. That's the game's fault. It's the game's fault. Well, it's the cheater's fault, but it's also the game's fault. Like, what is the organiser supposed to do? We're in the middle of a tournament, and the guy's cheated, knowing this is the case, by the way. He knows no one's going to be able to actually call him out for his cheating. Okay. Hey, the organiser is wearing the same jersey as my opponent, which is weird. They both decided that my opponent had won, and that I had no say in it. Fine. I don't play to win that bad, and apparently this guy just had to win. Fair enough. I put him on the do not play list on any given Saturday, and just moved on. The second game. Sorry. What's beyond my mind? What's going on there? Sorry, so there is a story coming up on Wednesday, which you will see a bit later on this week, that I just read about somebody who's coming out in the hobby. So obviously it's on my mind. Oh dear. The second game, I played, to my surprise, another Orc player, from the same team again. This time it was wildly different, but just as frustrating. He had lost his first round game, and was just sour about it. Whenever I went to shoot something, he would say, "Don't even roll, I know they are dead," and just threw his models back into his box, whining about how the army I brought was just overpowered, and that he should just give up now. I tried to tell him that it's just a game, and he could still pull out a win. This went on until turn 3, when he decided he needed a smoke and went outside. He didn't come back before the round ended. The organiser did see that he left and gave me a 70 to 65 win. How he came to those points, I have no idea. Again, man, it's the game. I mean, it's also the player being a salty little bastard, yeah, but you know. Lunch break time. Time to display our armies for the painting award. I set my army out, and I had been getting compliments of most of the day. So I thought I had a good chance at winning. I went and got lunch and then moved to my next opponent. Round 3, I was playing an Imperial Guard army that wasn't part of that team. He was a delightful opponent, and we had a great game, laughing and joking and throwing dice. The kind of game that I strive for as a hobby. Kudos, dude. I hope the new codex is working out great for you. Now, surprise time. First place, with a perfect score, was a team member. Second and third, a team member. Paint prize, team member. Yeah, of course. The painting prize went to the army that was standard colour with no conversion and minimal basing. Okay. Well, I was helping to clean up, while I was helping to clean up and be respectable, an event goer. Again, we need to be reading these. While I was helping clean up, and respectable event goer, so for God's sake, my brain. I swear to God, I'm autistic or something. While I was helping to clean up like a respectable event goer should, I had the opportunity to ask the organiser how many votes I got for painting. To which he replied, none. I was puzzled. So I asked one of the team members why this guy got so many points, and was told it was his turn. They rotate the paint prize between them, and coerce the other participants into voting for them during lunch. Wow. I left that event with the weirdest feeling. I didn't know what to make of this whole situation. Was this team that participated in national events, are they all like this? Was this what 40k was here? I didn't go back for a while, just hobbying away, and every so often I wanted to show something off, I would go back and see if it was any better. I don't know how it happened, but it has gotten even worse every time I've gone back. It seems that it has been the same for the group of players I had brought together to keep 40k alive for those years without a store. We all have switched to one-page rules and are having a blast in our living rooms and garages, while this team keeps farming their tournaments for prizes. Jesus. I've been keeping up with competitive 40k scene through social media groups I'm in, and every time there is a controversy at a national event, I look at the players and that team name keeps popping up. Every time I bring it up and try to shine some light in it, I get shouted down by the masses on the internet. So, it's safe to say that I won't be getting into 10th edition because my local meta is just toxic to play with. I'm content with my group of dad gamers and one-page rules, thank you very much. There's so many more nightmares I can share with you over my 40k career of 25 plus years next time. I might tell you how I lost my first 10,000 point orc army a decade ago. Cheers. Yeah, please do, man. That sounds good. Apart from a few mistakes here and there. As I said before, that was really well written, apart from like 2 or 3 lines. But those are the ones that catch me out and really knock me off my stride. And like, if it's not well written from the start, I can go, yeah, write this again and come back to me. But man, you write so well, and it's got such a nice jump to it and bounce to it. And then all of a sudden it goes blah 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 blah. my brain just shuts down. So I apologise for that. Apologies. But yeah, you are completely right, and that is a toxic situation, dude. And I'm really sorry that you had to go through it. This is a clique. This is a group who have got people together, and obviously because they are the quote-unquote celebrities of their local scene, they're taking full advantage. What I would suggest for you to do is to stick to yourself. By the way, don't give up on 10th edition or 40k just because of them. It's not, again, the secondaries are the game's fault, true, but you don't have to play with them. You can just say, we're not doing secondaries, we're only doing primaries. You know, and that's fine, you know? It works. 40k works like that. You can do that. So before you go to one-page rules and stay there, you know, because they're not the be-all, end-all, I would give 10th edition at least a go. And if you don't like secondaries, then cut them out. Don't use them. You know? Do what you want to do. It does seem like it's going to be a lot more of a free-flowing, happier game than 9th edition is. 9th edition is miserable as a game, so hopefully 10th edition is a lot more of a happy game. But we will see going forwards, of course. I've been proved wrong many times by Games Workshop's sheer idiocy and how they like to go about things. But hey, there we go. Neutron Joe says, "Hey North, I'm actually being cheeky and throwing this in the mailbag for Hobby Nightmares as it's a bit of a crisis situation. Alright, I will forgive your cheekiness this once, but the next one better be a Hobby Nightmare. So, there is this girl. Oh dear. It's always a girl. So, there is this girl called Claire who works at my local hobby store. I will cut to the chase. She's gorgeous, smart, funny, redhead, the whole shebang. Alright, I'm liking where this is going. She is also someone who is into witchcraft, incense, and things like that. Well, I asked her out a few weeks ago, and she said yes. We went on a date, and it went really well. I didn't seal the deal or anything, but hey, I really like her. The problem is, I really don't want to settle down just yet. I just want female company for a bit, and maybe in a few years, I'll be ready to settle down, but right now, definitely not. Alright, well, at least you're being honest. At least you're being honest. I'm a busy guy with my own business. I will want to settle down one day, and Claire is somebody I'd like to do that with, but not right now. So, let's say I want to seal the deal with Claire to find out if we are compatible on that level. Because if we are, I may move my plans forward a little bit. Okay. Aside from hobby stuff, what the hell do I do to move things along? I got into the batter's box using some previous advice from some of your videos, but right now, I'm really stuck at what to do. She came around to my place to watch a movie last week, and mentioned how, although it was clean, it looked like a single guy's place. We kissed, but that was it. So, where do I go from here? I feel like things are stalling. Cheers, Joe. Okay, I hope you didn't use a real name, because and I know that our viewer count for ladies is going up, because I keep seeing it in the metrics, in the analytics. So, anyway, moving on. First of all, man, here's the thing, and this is for the ladies who are watching, okay? The amount of you who will get with a guy like Joe because you think he's not ready to settle down, but I can definitely change him. I can definitely make him want to settle down. No, you're not. You're not, because this guy seems to me like a guy with a lot of balls. For instance, like he's asked out a woman who's very good looking, and he's in the batter's box. He's got his own business. He's killing it, right? This is somebody who's woken up and realised, hey, I don't need a woman to make myself feel good. I'm okay, thank you. And in doing so, he's gotten a nice woman to be interested in him. So you're not going to change a guy like this, okay? Because he's got options. He's got options. So please stop thinking to yourself, hey, I'm the prize, I can change a guy. No, you can't. The only time you can change a guy is if he thinks he's not going to get it anywhere else. Just plain and simple. Plain and simple. Okay? If you've got a guy who is already, getting with women and is completely fine with that, and also he's fine with not getting with women, if that comes along, alright? Those are the guys you can't change. You cannot change them. They will come around in their own time to settling down. But it won't be your decision, it'll be his. He will say, hey, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And Joe, listen to this, mate. Women quite rightly, women control access to sex. Quite rightly. Quite rightly. Men control access to relationships and time. Alright? Those are the two things. By and large. There are exceptions to every rule, of course. Totally. Totally. But they prove the rule, they don't disprove it. Okay? Men control access to free time, as in we value our free time a lot, and we're very selfish about giving it to people. More selfish than women are, anyway, by and large, right? And we hold the access to relationships. We decide when we're a couple, right? Where the toxic things start coming in, we saw this with Pirate King the other day. When the toxic parts of relationships start coming in most of the things that I've read and I've seen and I've been a part of, is when that is reversed. When the woman is saying, I'm not sure if I want to be with you, I'm going to date around, and the guy says, no, I want to be with you. Because that creates toxicity in both sides, right? Number one, the woman isn't respecting you enough, so she's going to be very toxic with you eventually. And number two, you don't respect yourself enough to fuck her off and walk away. Okay? Because you need to decide when you're ready to be in a relationship. That's the natural order of things. If it goes the other way around, things can start to get, shall we say, a little bit toxic. Alright? And they eventually do. I don't care how nice the guy seems, how ahead of the game or modern he seems, they will always revert to type. I've known dudes who are, you know, self-obsessed and self-acclaimed, you know, allies and things like that. They're just as toxic as the rest of us when it comes to being. We're the guys who fight fucking wars, dude. Like we literally look at every battlefield in human history. It's us killing the shit out of each other. We're still there. That's still us. We've not changed. Okay, that's still us. So, you know, you need to recognise that. Ladies, don't try and change a guy like this. It's not going to work. All you're going to do is, you know, annihilate your own self-esteem and cause yourself a lot of heartache. When a guy is like this, ladies, walk away. Walk away. Because 9 times out of 10, he'll think, oh, hang on, why does she walk away? Anyway, a lot of the time, he'll get on with his day, not be bothered, right? At least then you've dodged the bullet, though. At least then you've dodged the fuck boy, okay? You've dodged the bullet. And the ones who aren't fuck boys, who are ready to come around, they'll follow you. They'll go, oh, I don't want to lose her, actually, you know? I actually think this is one of those situations. Sorry, Joe. I actually think this is one of those situations where if Claire, like dumped you off, you'd be like, oh, hang on, I want to get back with her now. Moving back to your point. Do you want? I'm going to give you some practical advice, dude, because it seems like you're killing it already. You know, you've got your own place. You've got a woman there who wants to spend time with you. She's coming around again, which is great. So obviously she's interested in you, and you've kissed. You've moved on to that. That's great, awesome. You're on the 3rd date now, so you know this is kind of around the time when you're going to start experimenting and doing different things. That's great. If you want to get into that batter's box, looking at who Claire is, right? She's into witchcraft. She's into things like that, right? Here's what you do. Here's what you do. When you're together, not texting, when you're together, say, hey, one thing I'd like to do first before we do anything else. I'm going to take you to Lush. I'm going to take you to Lush or anywhere else where they sell scented candles. When she asks why, say, I just want to know what your... Say this to her. I just want to know what your favourite scent is. And what makes you feel calm and happy. Because I noticed that you said... I didn't get offended, by the way. But I noticed you said something about it, you know, feeling like a bachelor pad last time, you know? Clean, but nice, but like, you know, not a home. So, find a scent that you think that relaxes you and makes you feel happy, right? And I want you to tell me what those are, and I'll buy a load, and I'll put them in my flat, and I'll light them whenever you're around, just to make you feel more at home, more comfortable, right? Just, you know, I just want you to feel happy and safe when you're around me, when you're at home. The panties will be off within, I'd say, 2 hours. 2 hours. You will get home. You will light those candles, and dude, it's a wrap. It's a fucking wrap. Like, don't even. So do that, right? Just do that. I very rarely give one-to-one how to ABC advice because it can be quite toxic. People think, oh, well, you're just gaming now. You're just like, you know, trying to like cheat the system. But this guy's done the hard bit, right? He just needs to finish, quote unquote. And so that's how I would do it if I was in your shoes. And this woman is clearly into witchcraft. She's clearly into incense, as you said there. She's into incense and things like that. Ask her what her favourite fragrance is, what her favourite incense is, what her favourite smells are. And say, hey, let's go shopping together to find smells that you would love to have around my flat. Because I want you to feel comfortable, I want you to feel safe, and I want you to feel like you can relax when you're around me at my place. It's important to me. Say that from the heart. Dude, don't even... You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Trust me. Alright? So, yeah, ladies, don't try and change a guy like this. And, Joe, don't hurt her, please. Right? If she seems really, really, really cool, again, realise you control access to the relationship. That doesn't always mean that you need to keep away from a relationship. If this person is a really cool person, and you're getting along really well, and things are going really, really smoothly, there's nothing to say that you can't move your plans forward a little bit. You even mention it in your message, okay? So don't be locking yourself off to, I'm not ready, and I'm not... Sometimes it just happens, alright? Sometimes it just happens. If this is that person, just go with it. Go with it, okay? Value your own time, value your boundaries, but as soon as you're ready, you say, yeah, you know what? I'm ready. I'm happy with her. Like, let's give this a go. Then give it a go. Don't keep an arbitrary date in your mind. You know, do not do that. Don't make a plan for your life and go, I'm sticking to this, and it's never going to change. No, just, go with the flow, dude, alright? No. Moving on. Jack says, hello to the exiled northerner. I'm Jack, and I've been a fan of your stories for a while now, and figured I'd share some of my own. The first one, to be exact. I got into Warhammer when I was fresh out of high school back in 2016, when I had visited a comic book store one day and saw a large section of the store dedicated to models and paints. I picked up a squad of Imperial Guardsmen, and I've been a guard player ever since. You may have seen some of my jungle fighters in the Discord. I was slowly getting more and more into the hobby as I accumulated models, learned to paint, listened to lore videos, and actually found a friendly local game store / comics shop only 20 minutes from my house. It was a pretty great setup, and I would spend a lot of my free time there reading comics and getting to know some of the folks in the Warhammer community. I was happy to discover that there was a handful of other Imperial Guard players at the store who helped me learn some of the rules and who'd type up my poorly painted models. Or who would hype up my poorly painted models, saying they looked great. Dude, you found a fucking goldmine of community there. Well done. Well done. Finding a good Warhammer community is like finding a good woman. You know, the rarity is the same. Chef's kiss. Mwah, you've done well. It was a pretty good community, and eventually I figured I was ready for my first game. This is where the nightmare begins. I asked around the group to get my first game in, and eventually one of the players agreed. Let's call him Jimmy, to give all the Mikes and Daves a break for once. Jimmy had been in the hobby for much longer than I had, and had a nicely painted Tau force he brought to face against my humble mismatched and partially painted guardsman. I had made it clear that I was just looking for a casual match to actually learn to play the game, and so I brought all the models I had to the game, which were a collection of things I thought looked cool at the time more than an actually viable list. Unfortunately, for me, this was late 7th edition, and my opponent had assembled a Tau gun line, one of the strongest armies in the game at the time, from what I understand. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. That and Skyhammer, those were the two in 7th. I wish I could say my brave guardsmen had put up a good fight and won the day, but the truth is that it was a slaughter. I was nearly wiped off the board turn 1, with Jimmy more or less just going down the line of his various Tau units, rolling dice, and pointing at my models saying that they were all dead, without me fully understanding what was going on in the game at all. By the time my turn had come around, I had only a handful of infantry and light vehicles left. All I had managed to kill during my turn was 1 or 2 Tau shield drones before it was his turn again. Yeah, this is why the Tau get a bad reputation. You know, when things go well for the Tau, you don't kill any of them, you just kill the drones. Especially if you're I guess a lot of their reputation comes from people who don't know the game that well. Do you know what I mean? If you know the game that well, then you know how to bypass those rules and get around them. But if you don't, and you just shoot at things, hoping to just do some damage without knowing what the opponent actually has, you will be killing drones and not the actual Tau. It's fucking infuriating. And he wiped my force off the table. It was a massacre, and when I commented to Jimmy that his army was pretty strong, he got a smug look on his face and said it was about the strongest in the game, and that he had to show me what this game was about, quote unquote. Yeah, there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than people picking on beginners. You know, I thought maybe he hadn't listened to you or hadn't, taken it in, so he thinks you're not a beginner. The fact that he knows you're a beginner and went and did this anyway, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. I later heard from some of the other players at the store that he had wanted to scare me off, as we had what he believed were too many guard players in the store. I didn't let this deter me from my hobby though. I had put a lot of time and effort into my humble little guard force, and I was going to keep it. Good lads. Good lads. We need more people like you in the hobby. Stick around. Good lad. You just want to learn. Nothing wrong with that. There are so many small dick assholes in this hobby. I swear to God. I swear to God. There are so many of them. Small dick energy. I'm going to run this guy off the hobby because there's too many guard players here. Now fuck yourself, you fucking tosser. Oh my God. Can you believe the attitude? This is not the first story like this that I've read. Those of you long-time fans will know. This is not the first one I've read of this type. These absolute douche nozzles, man. Ever since then, I have had the Tau be the arch nemesis of my Katachan regiment. Good lad! Work it in! Work it into your lore. Do you know what? Go and get Tau model bits and stick them on like you've carved off one of the fucking heads or something. With many of my jungle fighters sporting Tau skulls as trophies. Good lad. Since then, I have had many fantastic matches, playing in month-long narrative campaigns, built up the lore of my regiment, refined my painting skills, and have fallen in love with the hobby. What a fucking Chad, dude. You're doing exactly what you should do. Invest in your own story, your own hobby, your own narrative, and build it from there. Build something unique to you. Good lad. Brilliant. And a very good writer, by the way. This is very good so far. On that note, though, a lot of people see players of certain factions as those guys. Cough, Space Wolves, cough. But for me, it has always been Tau players. I know there are good Tau players out there, and I will never try to deter someone from playing a faction that they enjoy, but every single Tau player I've met in my years in the hobby has been the absolute worst. I've met ones who blatantly lie about their rules to try to win, ones who expect you to know all of their army rules and get mad when you don't, creepy ones with third-party models of anime girl Tau soldiers with massive stripper titties, and many more. I hope one day I'll meet one that's a homie that I'll enjoy playing against. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my story. I have many more hobby nightmares to share. If you're interested, thank you for reading this one, Jack. Please send more in, Jack. You're a very good writer. And very well done for surviving your horrid initiation into the hobby. Fuck that guy. But yeah, on that subject, I don't know so much about, like, certain factions. I think it depends what experiences you've had as a player. Do you know what I mean? And with me, I've had lots of bad experiences with Space Wolf players, and so I tend to dislike Space Wolves, you know? One of my army's main bugbears is Space Wolves. Like, so we go and we kill Space Wolves, but we're not that big of a fan of them. But saying that, you know, you did it in such an amazing way. Like you said, yeah, I don't like this. I don't like the Tau as a faction. They gave me this really bad experience earlier on, so fuck them. I'm going to murder them with my Katachan regiment. Good lad. That's exactly what you should do. Put that person on the never play again list. And you know what? At the end of your battle, tell them. Tell them, mate, good game. Shake his hand. I probably won't be playing you again. I didn't enjoy that at all. And I guess we just got different personalities, you know. We're into the game for different things, I think, right? And if you ask what you mean, say, look, I'm a narrative player. I want to tell cool stories on the tabletop. I want to collect things because they're cool. I'm not here to play for blood or to ruin somebody's day. And that's where you are. That's alright. That's how you want to play. That's alright. I hope you find people that you want to play, but you're on my don't play list from now on, alright? I'm sorry, man. It just is what it is. Right? You will piss somebody off and hurt them to the point where they may change their behaviour by saying something like that. Getting just pissed at them and being annoyed will feed their little dick energy egos. Calmly tell them that you're disappointed in the game you just had. It kind of ruined your day, and so you won't be playing them again. That's all. And that's even if they haven't cheated or anything like that. If they're just a player that you're not getting on with, tell them. Tell them, man, I don't play for blood, you know, and obviously that's fine. That's how you want to play. And if they want to plead their innocence, say, dude, actions speak louder than words. Right? You can chat verbatim about how you're such a balanced player with a balanced army. We know that's not the case. We've just seen it, okay? So please don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining, okay? I'm just not going to play again. That's it, right? Right? The only way you could have got back in there, not that you want to, particularly, but the only way you could have got back in there with me is if you just said, okay, let's do another game sometime with a narrative rules, then maybe, but like, dude, nah, your attitude, not for me, so I'm going to back away, sorry. You know? As long as you're respectful and you're honest, dude, you are in there, you're fine, you know? Same thing goes for the girl thing before. Remember Joe's thing? When I said, you know, ladies, don't try and change them. Because the amount of girlfriends that I know, not that I've been with, but like that I know, who will have an honest man come up to them and be like, hey, I'm not interested in a long-term relationship, but, you know, we can hang out. And they'll be like, oh, well, I can change you. No, you can't. No, you can't. Okay? He's been honest with you, and that's where it is. As long as you're honest with your opponent, you know, you can get away with a lot. As long as you're honest and respectful with your opponent, and in a relationship as well, you can get away with a lot. I don't mean abuse. I mean, like, you know, I don't feel like meeting tonight or tomorrow. I'm good. I'm fine on my own. You can get away with that as long as you're honest. And the same thing goes for meeting troubled opponents in 40k. You know, as long as you're honest about it, you're honest about your concerns and what you don't want from the game, there's not a leg they can stand on, man. Anyway, love you all long time. I'll be back tomorrow for some more 40k ranting. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.